Welcome back to my channel, guys. I am very excited about today's video because it is the first sourcing video that I will be presenting in this channel. I have been sourcing outside of China for my entire adult life, but I've never actually made a sourcing video. So today is an A to Z video for how to use Alibaba.com. In future videos, I'll be talking about different platforms and also more in depth about Alibaba. But in today's video, we're going to be going over a tutorial A to Z on how I use Alibaba.com myself. I've been using Alibaba for many, many years, and I also show you that I've been using them for many years as well. And I feel like I have a good grasp on how to use the platform. So this is a pretty long tutorial, but there is a lot of little hidden nuggets in there. So I do suggest that you watch it until the end. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. I'm super excited to have you here. This channel is all about Amazon FBA, sourcing now because I'm adding sourcing videos as well, and e-commerce. I am an Amazon seller. I am also an Amazon FBA coach. I also speak at many Amazon events, and I'm also the co-host of Seller Sessions, the best podcast for Amazon sellers. Apart from all that, I'm also a mother and a wife and in general an entrepreneur. But anyway, less about me and more about this video. So before I was selling on Amazon, I also was selling on eBay, and I also had my own e-commerce store in Israel as well. And in general, I've been selling online for a long time. And most of the time, my suppliers, I would find them originally on Alibaba. There are other platforms that today I use and other sources that I use as well. But Alibaba really was my main go-to place for finding suppliers. Over the years, I've built a system for myself, but we can't give everything away in one video because it would be like a 20-hour video. So this is just going to focus on the basics of how to actually use Alibaba and how to find your way around. If you don't know, I have an A to Z product research and sourcing course where I teach you how to find products to sell on Amazon, how to differentiate them, how to focus on niching, how to evaluate the products, how to validate them, and then how to also source from A to Z. I have all my templates in there, including NNNs and purchase order agreements and everything that you need for sourcing as well. So I will put a link down to my course as well if that is something that you're interested in. And also for the last 2 years, I have been doing one-on-one coaching with sellers as well and helping from all the way from product development to PPC, etc. So if you are in need of a coach, I will put a link to my website down below and you can have a look at the reviews and in general my website as well. All right, and without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, we are now inside of my computer. On one side, you can see I've made a quick Alibaba.com guide so that you guys can keep up with me for what I'm looking at on the website. And on the other side, on the right-hand side, you will see I'm inside of Alibaba.com. Now, I'm actually logged into one of my Alibaba.com accounts. I have been sourcing from Alibaba for a very long time. And I wanted you guys to actually see that I have been sourcing for a long time. So I'm going to click on this account so that you can see that I've had active orders recently. Obviously, the products are going to be blurred out because I'm not interested in showing my products. But you can see that there are a lot of orders here. You'll be able to see if I move myself. You can see that there's pages and pages of here. Okay, so I hope you guys get the point. So I hope you guys can appreciate and understand that when it comes to Alibaba.com, I've been doing this for a while, and I know really what I specifically look for anyway, and what you should look for when you're sourcing. So now that we're done with that, we're back to the main page. So when you're looking to find a supplier worldwide using Alibaba.com, there are many different ways of doing it, but there's 3 specific ways that I'm going to focus on today. So this is what the dashboard looks like when you first log in, or when you go to the website. You'll see here, there's a lot of different ways to start looking for products, or for suppliers, I should say. So let's just say that in the scenario, for the sake of creating this video, I am looking to source a jade roller Terrible product. I do not recommend that you source this to sell on Amazon, but let's just say that this is what it was that I wanted to source. There are 3 different ways that I would go about in order to find the right supplier for what it is that I need for this jade roller. Now, if you've gotten to the stage of where you are sourcing a product, you should really know the features, the benefits, and the specifications of the product, because you need to know exactly what it is that you need to look for. What kind of certifications do you need for this product? You know, what are specific customizations that you need, etc. So we're going to pretend that up to now I know exactly what I want. I know what packaging I want. I know what customization I want. And now it's just a matter of finding the right supplier. So using Alibaba.com, there are 3 different ways that I would go about that. The first way is the most obvious way, which is to use the search field, which is up here at the top. You can see I can type in here anything. You can see the history because I was looking at jade rollers earlier to make this video. So I could type in jade roller, and we'll get more into what that actually means shortly. But I'm going to skip the search part and show you 2 other options and then come back to the search, because the search is the most obvious. So obviously, most obvious is you use the search. We'll come back to this. If you look here, I've written that the second option is Alibaba ready to ship. So let's just say that you are testing a product, or you have decided to look into a product where you want to buy it as is, off the shelf, no customization. You just want to get it as it is off the shelf. You could speed up the process by clicking here on ready to ship, and you can see it's going to take you to another dashboard, and you can see here basically ready to ship means that the product is exactly that. It's ready to ship. It's suppliers that already have stock on hand without specific customization. As it is, you just pay them and they're going to ship it out to you. You can get inspections if you would like, but the point is that if you were to utilize ready to ship, it means that speed to market is important for you, or that you're not looking to make any sort of customizations whatsoever. You just want the product as it is. Now, sometimes you may be creating a bundle of a product, and let's just say that you have customized a type of utensil, and you have decided that you're going to add a very simple chopping board to it that has no customization to it. So maybe the supplier that is making your customized utensil is one different supplier, and for the chopping board that is as is off the shelf, you may decide to use a supplier that has the ready to ship option. So there's a few different things that you could do with the ready to ship. And this is one way to find a very specific type of supplier, which is the type of supplier where it's ready to go. So that is the second option for how you can find a supplier. The third option is, let's just say that you already know exactly all the specifications of your product, and you just don't want to, or you don't have time to start looking for suppliers, and you'd like to work the opposite. You would like for suppliers to find you. So there is what is called the Alibaba.com request for quote. So you can actually go to, I've got it open here, the request for a quote option, where you can submit an RFQ, request for quote. Now you can find this from going to this website at the top, rfq.alibaba.com, or if you just go to scroll down on the main page, you'll also see it here. See request for quotation, and it will open it up. So the way that you use this is if you click here on submit RFQ. So the way that you would use the request for quotation is you would start to fill out this information, and then Alibaba.com is going to send this out to different suppliers from the category in which you have selected. And then those suppliers are going to then get back to you with quotations, and then you can move on from there, which is the total opposite of you going on and finding the suppliers yourself. For some people, this may be a better option than to find the suppliers on your own. So you can see here, it's asking you for very basic information. What is the product name? What is the category? The sourcing type? Do you want it customized, not customized, etc.? What is the sourcing purpose? Is it for personal use? Is it for raw materials? Is it for production, etc.? the quantity of the product, the trade terms that you're interested in getting a quote for. So it could be EXW, FOB, DDP. Your preferred unit price, you don't have to fill this out. You can see there is no red little star here. You can leave it. Details, so you can either enter in details, so the specifications of the product, or if you have a spec sheet, then you can upload your specification sheet here, which I personally usually work with specification sheets, and I would upload it there. If there are certain supplier capabilities that you need, specific certifications that you want the suppliers to have, or you need the suppliers to have, then you would fill out the requirements here of what certifications it is that you need. Shipping method, your preferred shipping method. If you plan to ship through Alibaba.com, then you could fill that out. What is the destination? What is the lead time that you would like for this to be ready? And then what are the payment terms that you expect to pay by? And then you would just click on agree, and then Alibaba.com will send this out to different suppliers. This is a great option for people that don't want to spend time looking for the suppliers themselves, and they prefer for Alibaba.com to do basically the work for you. Now, I have obviously requested for quotes in the past. I'm going to show you a past from a long time ago RFQ submission that I have done from the past. So let me quickly bring it up. Okay, so I have, this is the RFQ inquiries tab inside of my Alibaba.com account for this account. You won't be able to see everything, but you will be able to see this one over here. And you can see that this is for a derma roller from 2018. We were looking to possibly add a derma roller a couple of years ago, which we didn't end up doing. But you can see here that I requested for quotations. So I can click on view quotation or view RFQ detail. I'm going to click on view quotations. Okay, and then it has taken me to here where I have had 4 different suppliers reach out to me. And it's basically showing me a comparison chart, comparing each one of the suppliers and what it is that they've offered me and the price points. And then I can choose where to take it from here, whether I want to contact them, ignore it, whatever it may be. So you can see here, they've sent me an image. I've got the minimum order quantity. I have the price points, the payment terms, until when the quotation was valid. Obviously, this is from a long time ago. Different specifications about the products, whether they're a manufacturer or a trading company. So you can see this one, these 2 are trading companies, these 2 are manufacturers, what the main products are, etc., etc. This is basically what it will look like when you do this. Now, I requested this, again, this is from 2018, it's from a long time ago. I have not used this specific feature for a while, not for something I can show you anyway, but this is more or less what it would look like. We went over the ready to ship option, we went over the RFQ option, and now we're going to go over how you would search for a product, or for a supplier, I should say, using the search bar. So at the very top, you see here, currently I'm filming this during the March Expo, which is something that Alibaba.com runs every single March. So it says here March Expo 2021, but if you click here, you'll see products or suppliers. Now you can either search by products or you can search by a supplier. I'm going to show you both options. Personally, I like to search by suppliers and not by products, but I'm going to show you both the options so that you can understand. So there's 2 options. I can either type in Jade Roller, because that's the product that I'm using as an example here. Or the second option is I can actually upload an image. So let's say that you have found a product using one of my product research methods, and you don't actually know what the product is, right? Maybe you were looking at a photographer's past work that they've done, and you've seen a product and you're like, hey, this is really interesting, but I don't know what it is. So you can actually take a screenshot of the product, upload it, and search for it by uploading the image to Alibaba.com, or you could, in general, just say that you're looking into a specific product and you prefer to just search by image. So you can do that. I personally prefer to type in the product that I'm looking for. So I've typed in 𝗕𝗢𝗓𝗛, and you can see it's giving me a whole bunch of different options. I just want the option that I've typed in, so I'm going to click on search. So this is where it's really important that you listen really well, because there are many different things that you want to take into consideration here. Now, I've made this little guide for you that I'll make available for you, and you can print or download in the description of this video. Now, there's two things that are very important for you to look out for, in my opinion and in my experience, when you're searching for a supplier. Now, when you're doing trade online, all we have is the platform that we're using. Now, Alibaba.com has made available to us many different security measures, I'm going to call it, to make sure that we are working with the best suppliers there are globally. So the first thing that I think is very, very important that you're going to see here where it says supplier types is trade assurance. And the second thing is verified supplier. So before I continue, I want to take a minute to explain what that is. So Alibaba.com has an option where you can make your transaction through the platform using trade assurance. So it's basically a form of protection for buyers when they are working with suppliers, where if anything was to go wrong with your order, whether it be the quality of the product, the quantity of the product, the shipment itself, anything like that, if there is a problem, you would then open up a dispute through the Alibaba Trade Insurance, and basically Alibaba.com will then intervene and mediate between yourself and the supplier to come out with a solution, which could end up actually being that you will be refunded. So you can see here, if we refer to my little guide here, I have written in depth about what trade assurance is. So trade assurance is a form of protection for online orders when the payment has been made through Alibaba.com. So I understand that you're only covered by trade assurance if you actually submit your order through Alibaba.com. In the event that either product quality, product quantity, or shipment date varies from what your supplier and yourself have agreed upon in the trade assurance online order, Alibaba.com will offer you assistance in reaching a satisfactory outcome, including a refund if need be. So if there is something that has gone wrong, the quality is not what you had agreed upon, or whatever it may be, you can rest assured that as long as your communication was done through Alibaba.com and you followed the Alibaba.com terms of service, then if need be, Alibaba.com will step in and refund you. So it just gives you that extra layer of trust, basically, when you are making these online orders. Now, for best protection, you want to make sure that you keep the communication with the supplier on the platform. So on Alibaba.com, if you have communicated with your supplier outside of the Alibaba.com platform, then make sure that the agreed upon purchase order from yourself and your supplier has been uploaded by your supplier to your trade assurance order, and that you include all your agreed upon terms and conditions in the Alibaba.com messaging system. So sometimes you may take your communication with a supplier outside the platform. And if that happens, that's fine, but then you need to bring back the terms of your purchase order back into the platform and make sure that it's communicated on the platform, so that you can then be protected on using trade assurance. So when I'm filtering through the types of suppliers that I'm looking for, trade assurance is a must for me specifically. So before I clicked on this, over here it said 16,000 suppliers. I'll just I'll unclick it so you guys can see. 16,000, not suppliers, but 16,000 listings, almost 17,000 listings for 𝗕𝗢𝗓𝗛. Now, take into consideration that the search page for Alibaba.com does not work by rank, like they don't rank the listings according to how well a product sells or how often they get transactions or whatever it may be. It works a little bit differently. And many times the listings that you'll see here are actually repeated listings or different listings from the same supplier. So depending on the product you're looking at, sometimes you'll see 4 or 5 listings from the exact same supplier, which is why I prefer to search by suppliers and not by products. And if we search through here, let's see if we can find a supplier that is repeated more than once. So let's just see here, we've got 𝗔𝗟𝗣𝗛𝗓 Technology. Let's scroll through and see if I see them again. Here, 𝗔𝗟𝗣𝗛𝗓 Technology. So you've got 2 different listings by the same supplier on the same page. Now, I prefer not to see repeated listings from the same type of suppliers, and that is why very shortly I'm going to go to the suppliers tab instead. But for now, we have almost 16,962 listings for jade rollers. That is including all the listings of jade rollers on the platform. Now, I don't want all of them. I want to look at only specific suppliers that fit my criteria. So the first criteria is trade assurance. I'm going to click on trade assurance, and that is going to be filter number 1. Okay, that was the first filter. By the way, I have included here 2 links to trade assurance. You've got your trade assurance over here. That's just all the information about trade assurance. And I've also included a user's guide by Alibaba.com on how trade assurance work as well. You've got 2 links there so that you can be resourceful and actually read about what that includes. So that was the first filter. My second filter, which for me is a must, is making sure that I'm working with a verified supplier. Now, what does verified supplier mean? This is something that Alibaba.com introduced, I think about possibly 2 years ago. Before that, it used to be called a assessed supplier or something along those lines. I can't remember right now. But now it is called a verified supplier, and it's just another layer of protection that makes me feel so much more comfortable with using an online platform to find a supplier. So a verified supplier, if you look over here, I have included information on it. Verified suppliers have been inspected by world-class third-party inspection companies and will include an in-depth and detailed factory audit report that you can download. For me, this is a must, and I want to make sure that I am working with a legitimate supplier that has the capabilities, the certifications, and the capacity to create my products. And the way that I can know that the information is 100% legit is by making sure that I'm working with a verified supplier where a third-party inspection company has gone in and committed and done this factory audit, and all the information is downloadable. We're going to click on it very shortly and you will be able to see. So I'm going to click on verified supplier, and that will be the second filter that I include here. Now, there's a few more things that I can use to filter here. I'm not going to go through all of them in this specific video, but I'll very quickly just explain. There are obviously different countries that you can filter by. The minimum order quantity that you are looking to order. You could filter also by pricing, and then obviously by certifications. So I have included here also a link. I've just clicked on it here and it's opening up for how to understand what different logo means for what certification. You can go through this and understand that. Now, understand that it is up to you as the buyer from Alibaba.com. If you're watching this on my channel, you're probably an Amazon seller, but on Alibaba.com, you are a buyer. As a buyer, you need to make sure and understand that it is your responsibility to understand what compliance is needed for your product. So you need to go and do your homework and understand what certain things it is, certifications, whatever it may be, that you need to abide by. And it is not up to your supplier to do it. It is up to you. And once you understand what certifications it is that you need, you can then start also filtering suppliers by certifications. Now, in most instances, you're going to need to get certifications yourself. However, if a supplier has already had in the past a certificate that you need for them to have, it means they've already passed it once, they're probably going to be able to pass it again. So you can also filter by certifications. Let's just say that I was to filter by ISO 9001. Okay, it's filtered that even more. So when I scroll through, there's more information here that I can look at. I have here the cost per unit. I've got here the minimum order quantity. I have here their location, the country, how many years they have been on Alibaba for. For myself, when it comes to years of operation, I'm usually looking at a minimum of 3 years. I like to filter it by 3 years. Now, obviously, if they're verified, a lot of people say, but if they're verified and they've only been up for a year, then why does it matter? They have been audited. On the one hand, that's true, but on the other hand, I personally prefer to work with someone who's been on the platform for a while and they have history, and it just makes me feel a lot safer. So that is something that I specifically work by. So that is how I would search for a supplier through using products. Now, again, I don't usually search for it this way. I usually search by clicking on suppliers. So look at the difference now when I click on suppliers and I click on search. You can see that now the dashboard looks a little bit different. So earlier we had almost 17,000 listings, and then now it's down to 1,631 suppliers. So that means that there were many listings, but a lot less suppliers. So again, I'm going to do my filtering system, my first two filters, which is trade assurance and verified supplier. So I'm going to click on trade assurance. We're down to 1,576, and now I'm going to click on verified supplier, and we're down to 580 suppliers. So that's almost over 1,000 suppliers that were not verified. I only want to work with the ones that are verified because I want to feel that I have that extra layer of protection. It doesn't mean if a supplier is not verified that they are not trustworthy. No, there are many suppliers on Alibaba.com that are not verified and they are trustworthy. And if you wanted to work with them, you would have to go and make sure that you get your own factory audit and your own inspections, etc. done before you decide to work with them. Personally, I prefer to just work with someone who's already verified, but I just want you to know that if you decided to work with someone that isn't, it doesn't mean that they aren't legit. It just means that you need to take into consideration be extra cautious and to take further steps when it comes to verifying them. So again, you can see here there are more filters that I can look at. I can look at what are the top 3 markets that the suppliers are supplying to: North America, Western Europe, domestic market, etc., etc. I can filter by total revenue. I can filter by certifications. I can filter by R&D, which is either research and development or resource and development. I can filter by number of employees. Okay, now when you're only just starting out, you don't want to work with, well, you could, but you want to also make sure that you're working with a factory that is fit for your needs right now. If you only want to order 200 units, then possibly a factory that has 200 employees, it's probably a much bigger factory. They may not even answer your request for a quotation because they're way too big for your tiny little order right now. So you also want to make sure that you're not working with too much of a, too small of a factory, and you're also not working with too big of a factory for where you're at right now. So take that into consideration as well. I'm going to leave these other filters on the left-hand side for now. And I want to now show you what would be my next step for now choosing what suppliers to even click on. I'm not going to look at all 580 of them, right? I want to now narrow it down to about 10 to 15 of them, and then narrow that down to my top 5, get for them to send me through samples, and then from those samples I will then move on to the next stages. Now we're not going to be able to go over all of that in this one video. I will make further videos on it, but I do want us to go through and understand how I use the favorites tab to then be able to choose what suppliers I'm going to move on to the next stage with. So I've done my first filtering, and now you can see that this looks a little bit different from how it looked earlier when we were looking at products. Now that we're down to suppliers, you can see here we have on the left-hand side, it says 6 years. So this is how long they have been in operation on Alibaba.com. They may have been a supplier that, you know, have been, you know, a supplier, a manufacturer for, or been in operations for 20 years. And only 6 years ago, they came onto Alibaba.com, but they've got years and years of experience. That could be the case. But on Alibaba.com specifically, this company has been on for 6 years. I can see that they are a verified supplier. I can see that they have trade assurance. Now, notice where it says supplier's trade assurance limit. I didn't speak about this earlier. You're going to see here that when I hover over this, it says trade assurance, and then it says supplier's trade assurance limit, 1.1 million. Here it shows 209,000. Here it shows 296,000. Every single one of these are going to have a different limit. This one's 666,000. So when we as a buyer create when our suppliers create an order for us through trade assurance and we pay through trade assurance to our supplier, Alibaba.com will then release a certain amount of money to the supplier and keep a certain amount of money. And basically the limit that we see is how much overall money the Alibaba.com platform or the trade assurance platform will release to the suppliers and how much they will not. It's not too important for you to understand, but basically the more it is usually the more trade assurance limit they have as a supplier, it means usually the more transactions that they make through trade assurance, which usually means the more you can trust them, but it doesn't mean that one should be trusted more than another. This is just facts that I'm putting out there. So we have gone over the years where I said that I personally prefer to work with a supplier that has a minimum of 3 years. We have looked at, understand that this is the name of the manufacturer. Here we have a badge saying that they're verified. Here we have the trade assurance badge. And then here we have a lot more information that we can consider before we look into whether we want to even work with this supplier or not. Now, I put in here some things for you to take a note of. So the first thing is take note of what are the main products that the supplier sells. Now over here I can see that this company has been on Alibaba.com for 6 years, but if you look at their main products, it's lumbar support belt and knee brace, but yet they also sell a jade roller. Personally, I prefer to work with a supplier that specializes in the products that I want to sell. Right, so I can see here that this supplier, their main products are jade rollers, gua sha, jade eye. Basically, they work with jade, right? If I was to need to decide whether I'm going to work with a manufacturer who's, you know, on the daily and their core products are the products that I'm looking to source, or random products, I would always prefer to work with the ones where they always are going to have the raw material that I need, that the workers are doing repeated work with the type of products that I'm looking for, because it's also going to bring down the risk of having quality issues. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have quality issues at all. It's just that, you know, if this is what they do, if they only create jade rollers, they make products made out of jade, and the workers are used to doing this, the manufacturers, the people that work at the manufacturers every single day, and this is what they do, then the likelihood of mistakes happening compared to a manufacturer where, you know, they make all sorts of random things is a lot slimmer if this is their core products. And also usually it's going to be easier for me to then start to negotiate on pricing and things like that if they already have these raw materials there, because this is what they sell. So always look at what is the main product. Look at the country that you're working with. Look at their total revenue. Now, just because this one is $10 to $50 million in revenue, sales that they usually have, doesn't mean that they're better than this guy for my needs. Okay, but that is something that you always want to look at as well. What are the markets that they usually sell to? So this one specifically, I can see they sell to 13% to North America, 20% to Western Europe, and 25% to Eastern Europe. These guys are percentages a bit different, but more or less to similar marketplaces. So these are some things you want to look at. When it comes to certifications and rating and things like that, you can also look at that at the next stage because you can't usually see the certifications within here. So let's just say that I don't want to work with this guy. I know that, you know, they have almost 2 million in revenue in the last 6 months, and I know that they are verified and they've got trade assurance, but they look to me like they're a trading company and they don't specialize in jade rollers. So I'm not going to add them to my favorites. I'm going to move on. I can see that this guy over here that's been on for 4 years, I can see their name verified. They've got trade assurance. I can see that their main products are jade rollers. So far they look good. I want to add them to my favorites. I'm going to click on that. It's going to tell me I've already added them because I've already made this video and I had to redo it. But you can see that I've already added them. And I'm going to click on compare, which means that later I can also compare the different favorites, suppliers that I've added to favorites. I can see here again, cosmetics packaging is their main product. Don't want that. Nail clippers series, nail clippers, key holders, etc. Personally, I prefer not to work with them. Okay, main product, jade rollers, rose quartz, jade rollers, etc. They are verified. They've got trade insurance, etc. They look pretty good to me. I want to add them to my favorites as well. I've already done that, you can see. This guy here, they've only been on Alibaba.com for 2 years. Their main products are jade rollers. They are verified and they do have trade assurance. They've only been on for 2 years, which I don't love, but I am going to add them to my favorites as well, which I've already done. Let's see if there's anyone else that maybe I didn't add earlier. Okay, 4 years, verified, trade assurance. They main products are jade rollers. I can see that they sell to the North America, domestic market, and also Oceania. Okay, I'm going to add them as well to decide whether I want to move forward with them to the next stage. Scrolling through, seeing what else I have here. Okay, jade eggs, gua sha tools, jade rollers, jade animals. So jade, they work with the main material for the product, which is jade. They've been on for more than 6 years. They're verified. They work with trade assurance. I'm going to add them to the favorites as well. Okay, now I have clicked on a few different suppliers that look interesting to me. I don't want to have to contact each one separately. Okay, I want to be able to contact them at once if possible. So I clicked on favorites, I added them to my favorites, and now I need to have a look at them. So I've clicked on favorites, which was up here on the top right, and it's opening up my Alibaba.com favorites tab. When you first go into it, it's going to show you products or suppliers. You can see that in the past I have looked at custom packaging. I added that to favorites. I'm going to click on suppliers. Here we're going to see the 4 or 5 different suppliers that I had clicked on. Now, notice that there are a few different things here. First of all, I can write myself remarks. So let's just say I could say here, reached out and waiting on reply, for example, okay? So that I can remind myself what I've done with this specific supplier. I can also group these suppliers into different groups. So you can see I've clicked here phase 2. Let's just say I've communicated with my suppliers and now I want to take it to the next stage with 3 of them, right? So I could click on this one, and on this one, and I can move them to the group 2 that I've made here, phase 2. And that way I can keep the suppliers in different groups according to what I've done with them. Let's say I want to contact these 3 all at the same time. I've looked at all 3 of them and I have decided that I want to work with all 3 of them. Well, I want to get quotes from all 3 of them, and then I want to move to obviously possibly the sample stage with all 3 of them, but I don't want to have to contact each one separately. So I'm going to click on them and I'm going to click here on contact supplier. And then I can put through, okay, it's asking me for this. Let's quickly do that. Okay, and then I can enter here. I have my own contact sheet that I reach out to suppliers with. I would add the contact sheet, and if I had a formal request for quotation sheet that I work with, or a specification sheet that I want to add, I would add that by clicking on add attachment here. If you're inside of my product research and sourcing course, you have specification sheets, you have RFQ quotations, both in Excel and in Word that we work with. So you would then add that here, and you would click send inquiry, and that was basically sending it through to 3 of them at the same time. Something else that I can do here is I can compare their specifications to one another. So I can click on all of them, and then I can click on compare. And then what that does is it's going to show me, like so, the different suppliers that I've looked at, and it's going to compare each one of them and the different specs or different features or different things that they each offer. I can see their contact details. I can see the types of products that they sell, their main products, what is their business type. So I can see that they're over here are a trading company. Here, they're both a manufacturer and a trading company. Here, also both a manufacturer and trading company. And here they are the manufacturer. They have many different certifications in place. You know, I may decide that I actually want to, you know, have a look at them. So I'm going to click on them, and it's going to take me to their Alibaba store. Once I'm on their Alibaba store, I can then see the inspection or the audit that the third-party inspection did on their company. I've got so much information here that I can look at. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of every single one here. I'm going to make a separate video of how I would read these audits, okay? But I wanted you guys to be able to see that you have all the information here. I can actually download the assessment or the audit that 𝗕𝗢𝗣𝗑 have done on these specific suppliers. These audits cost, usually if it's done outside of Alibaba.com, they're cost like between $200 something to $300. So, you know, if the audit is recent and it looks good, it saves you from having to do a factory audit. Right, so there's a lot of different information here, and I hope that by you seeing this, you can also understand that, you know, you've got a lot of different layers of security and a lot of different layers that are going to, that they should allow you to trust in working with suppliers online a lot more. Let's just look at a different supplier. Let's just say this one here. And we can see that they have been verified by SGS. SGS is one of the larger third-party inspection companies overseas. They're very, very well known. SGS, Intertek, vTrust, many different types. They're all, you know, very, very trusted. SGS is a great inspection company that I think it's just awesome that Alibaba is working with them, that Alibaba.com is working with them and having them actually create these, to have these audits. So that is what looking at suppliers will look like for you. So from here, my next step is to then go into these suppliers listings and to then start looking at the information there, to go into their stores and to obviously look at the different products that they offer, etc. And actually obviously look at the audit from the inspection companies. From there, I am going to start contacting the suppliers. I'm going to start asking for RFQs from them. I will be sending them through my specifications for any customizations that I need. I'm going to start, you know, the back and forth of asking them all of the questions so that I can get my answers. I'm going to narrow it down to my top 3. They're going to send me samples. From them sending me those samples, I am then going to obviously start making the decision who it is that I want to work with, and the one that I want to end up working with will be the one that I will then create the trade assurance order with, make my payment, and obviously they will work on the order. Now, when you're working with suppliers from overseas, I highly recommend that you do not pay more than 30% upfront. It is normal for them to ask for 30 and up to a maximum of 50% upfront as a deposit, and then you would pay the remaining 70 to 50% depending on how much it is that you need to put down. Once you have had your pre-shipment inspection, and then obviously they will ship out your product. So I will make further videos on how I do those steps in the next couple of videos. I hope that up to now, this video has helped you to feel safe about using Alibaba.com and all the different measures that you can take and how you can narrow down to choosing your suppliers. And then in the next videos, we will work on then what are the next steps for obviously working with those suppliers. So thank you all for watching. I hope that this has brought you value. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And I will see you all in the next video.